Hi, it's coming up to that time of year again, and I wanted to show you how to make these poppies. So I've been making these for years now. They look just like the paper poppies, which is why I like them, from obviously the Royal British Legion, but they're not paper. They're better for the environment. I wear them year on year. I will say, obviously, if you're going to make your own poppies, do still make your donation as normal to the Royal British Legion. But they're better for the environment and they look really pretty, and they're nice and easy to make as well. And you can make them for friends and family who'll always give a donation for them, I tend to find. So this is the one I'm going to show you how to make. It's a pattern by Kandipandi. I've been using it for years now. It's a free pattern. You can get it on Ravelry or you can get it from her blog post. I'll put the link in the comments. But this is made using, I want to say, an Aran weight yarn, and this is with a chunky, so you can see it's a little bit bigger. Today I'm going to use a double knit. So you'll need a bit of red and a bit of green. You'll need a hook. I've got a 3.5mm hook, and then you'll need a stitch marker. Okay, so you start with your red yarn. Get that bit of fluff off. And then what you're going to do is make a slip knot. Hook in, and you're going to chain 2. 1 and 2, just like that. And then in the second chain from the hook, so your first chain that you made, you're going to do 11 double crochets. So in there, 1, 2, 3, and I go round the tail, 4, 5, to get myself a bit more slack, 6. If you crochet around the tail, you can then pull on the tail at the end to tighten it all up. 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. There we go. So we've got our 11 double crochets. Then you're going to join your last double crochet that you've just made to the first one with a slip stitch. So you can count backwards if you want to. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So it's this one here. I'm going to go under both the legs of the stitch and join it with a slip stitch. And like I say, this hole, if you want to close it, you can pull on the tail and it will cinch it right in for you. Yep. Cool. So for round 2, in the first stitch, which is the one that you're already in, you're going to do a chain 1 to move up to the next level, and then back into the base of that where you've done that chain 1 into that first stitch, you're going to do a double crochet, a half treble and a treble. So you're going to do a double crochet, a half treble, and a normal treble. Yep. Then in the second stitch along, that one just there, you're going to do 2 trebles. Yeah, in the third one, you're going to do 3 trebles. So we're progressively getting taller as we go, basically. Lovely. And then in the fourth stitch, you're going to do a treble, a half treble and a double crochet. So we're basically coming back down again. So you start with your tall stitch, the treble, then you come down a little bit and do your half treble, and then you come all the way down and do your double crochet. Yeah, so we've made our first kind of half fan shape. Yeah, then you're going to move round. So for the next stitch, we just need to hook back in by doing a slip stitch. So I'm going to slip stitch in there. Then we're moving over to the other side, or the other end of the circle, the bottom half. And we're going to do exactly the same thing again. So in this first stitch here, I'm going to work back up. So I'm going to do my double crochet, my half treble, and my treble, like that. Now we're back up at full height. Then in the next one, 2 trebles. Then in the next one, 3 trebles. Lovely. And then in the 4th one, we're coming back down. So we're going to do 1 treble, a half treble, and a double crochet. Lovely. And then we need to slip stitch back down again into our next stitch. Yeah, so this is the shape that we've made, like that. And now we're ready to move on to the 3rd round. Okay, so now for row 3, we're going to start off by chaining 1, and then in the 1st stitch from the previous round you're going to do a double crochet, a half treble, and a treble again. So I'm going to come in here. Okay, I'm going to do double crochet, a half treble, and a treble. Then in the next 10 stitches around, we're going to alternate doing a treble and then 2 trebles, a treble and then 2 trebles for the next 10 stitches. So 1 treble, 2 trebles, my hook wants to work, 1 treble, 2 trebles, so that's now 4 stitches done. 1 treble, 5, 2 trebles, makes 6, 1 treble, makes 7, 2 trebles makes 8, 1 treble makes 9, and I can get in there, 2 trebles will make 10, and then we come back down again. So in our next stitch we're gonna come back down, so we're gonna do a treble, a half treble, and a double crochet. So a treble, half treble, and a double crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into the next double crochet, which is just there. Yep, so you see we're starting to make our kind of 2-sided poppy. Okay, so now we're going to work around the top half. So if we locate our 1st stitch from that previous row, that was the one that joins us up, or that moves us up to the next level. So we've got the double crochet, the half treble, and the treble there. You can see the height rising through them. So down here in this 1st double crochet, what we're going to do is a treble. So in here, like that, and then in each of the next 8 stitches you're going to do another treble. So it's just treble, 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 treble for 9 stitches, including this 1st one, all the way around. So I've already done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So there are our trebles. Yeah, lovely stuff. So we've got 9 of them all the way around. Lovely. And then in this last one, which is the bottom of the treble, half treble, double crochet, we're going to do a slip stitch to bring this down. So I'm just going to slip stitch right in there. Yeah, and that's how we get our poppy shape. Cool, so that's all done. So you can grab some snips, trim that off, pull that through, and then we can weave in all these ends. So I'll come back to you in a sec when I've done that. So all of our ends woven in, this is our final poppy flower. So we're going to pop that to the side. We're now going to work on the leaf. So for the leaf you'll need your green yarn, oddly enough, and you're going to start with a slip knot, pop that on your hook, and then this time we're going to chain 6. Just like that, so 6 chains. Then in the second chain from the hook we're going to work a double crochet, and then moving further down this chain, so in the next chain along then, the third chain from the hook originally, we're going to do a half treble. Then in the next chain we'll do 2 trebles, then in the next chain a half treble, and then in the final chain a double crochet, like that. So we've kind of worked down one side of our chain in this direction. Yeah, at the end, to make our little picot, we're going to do 1 chain, and then we're going to slip stitch back into the same base we've just worked out of. Yeah, this, get back in focus, this end here. Yeah, now we're going to turn our work, we're going to work back along this way, so that we're going to work the other side of the leaf. The stitches are slightly different on the second side as they are on the first, but not too much. So now coming in, we're going to work into this stitch here, just there, and the first stitch that we're going to do, sorry, there, the first stitch we're going to do is double crochet. Then we're going to do a half treble crochet, then we're going to do a treble, so again we're just working back down the other side. Yep, then we're going to do a half treble, and then in the final stitch we're going to work another double crochet. Yeah, and that makes our leaf shape. Lovely stuff. So that's done as well, really quick. Chop that off. I leave a decent tail because you're going to need something to sew it onto the back of the poppy with, and then you can whip that out again, weave those ends in, and then we can start to actually put the thing together. Okay, so next job is to assemble our poppy. So the leaf traditionally goes at the 11 o'clock position on the poppy, about there like that. So I've left that ending tail, I haven't woven it in so that I can use it to attach to the back of the poppy. There we go. So I want it about there. So then I just come around to the back of the poppy and just stitch it on. So I try obviously not to go through to the front of the poppy. I just work through the back of the stitches so that the green yarn doesn't show on the front. Obviously if the back of the poppy you see a bit of green yarn, that's not really the end of the world at all. And I just try and anchor it in a few places so that the leaf doesn't kind of flop backwards, if that makes sense. It needs to kind of sit behind the poppy, but I don't want it to disappear entirely. Yeah, but your choice of placement, your choice of whatever you want. You could make the leaf bigger, whatever you fancy. There we go. So when that's attached, you can trim that off, and then you just need something to turn it into a brooch. So if you have brooch backs like me, what I'm now going to do is sew a brooch back onto the back of it, like that, and then you can cover it with a little bit of felt, like that one there as well. And then you just need something in the middle, and I normally use a black button, but you could use a piece of black felt if you wanted to, but just something to give it that black centre of the poppy look. So I'm going to get those bits now and then it'll be all done. Okay, so I found my brooch backs. So brooch backs, if you haven't used them before, look like this. But if you haven't got brooch backs, then you can use a safety pin. But you can get these at your local haberdashery. They're not terribly expensive. And then you just need buttons. So I've had a little rifle through my button stash, and I'm just now deciding how big. I think that one's going to be, yeah, he's going to be too big. What kind of button I want. And I don't think I like the 4 holes on that one. I think I prefer 2 holes. So it's that one or that one, and I think I like that one. So that's just a fisheye button like that. There we go. So I'm going to sew him on the middle, and then I'll sew my brooch back on the back, and then we're all done. Okay, so I sped this bit up a little bit because it's a little bit boring, but you just have to get a normal hand sewing needle and some thread, and then stitch your button on. I used a glue stick here just to hold the button in place while I'm sewing it. Probably put a little bit too much glue on, but there we go. And then have a devil of a time trying to find the hole at the back for the first stitch, but I get there in the end. And then you just basically do a whip stitch to stitch the button on. Doesn't need to be particularly fancy. I just go round a few times using a double length of thread, and then just tie it together at the back when you're done. Got glue on the front of the button as well. Not hugely successful on my part, but never mind. It'll all come off with a bit of soap and water. There we go. So that's the button on. Very fancy. And then next we need to do the brooch back. So I decided to use a red thread for this one, just in case some of the stitches popped through to the front. There we go. And then I normally put my brooch back not in the middle of the poppy, but actually quite far up towards the top, because I find if you put it in the middle, the poppy kind of falls over at the top. But if you put the brooch back further higher up the poppy, it kind of hangs from the brooch back a little bit better. So I just do 3 whip stitches around each side of the brooch back. So that's the bottom. Now I'm going to go around the top on the right, and then get it set up in place, move over and get that out of the way, and then do a few whip stitches around the top there, and then around the bottom. It's not got to be, you know, welded on. Lovely. And then go back through to your starting stitch, grab your starting tail, and then tie a couple of knots to keep those bits together. There we go. There we go. So all done. I hope you like it. Got your button on, you got your brooch back on, and you got your poppy. So the only thing I would say is that the design of this does sometimes curl up a little bit. So if you're struggling with that, the best thing you can do is put a little bit of spray starch on the poppy and give it a press under a pressing cloth. If you haven't got a pressing cloth, just 100% cotton tea towel will work absolutely fine as well. And then you're all done. There we go. So hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. Like I say, don't forget to make your donation as normal to the Royal British Legion. And yeah, there we go. Thanks very much. Bye.